Superman issue 8, legacy number 851, Joshua Williamson writing with Gleb Melnikov, David Baladeon, and Jamal Campbell on the art. So, yeah, I'll give Superman credit right now, is that while it's had some rocky issues here or there from Williamson, I'm finding it very easy to remember everything that just happened in the previous issue. Like, as soon as this started, I was like, okay, I remember exactly where we were with the Chained, and like him meeting Farm and Graft and the fight that had just happened. So when this started with a little flashback to young Chained, obviously it wasn't called that at the time.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned a name here.
Yeah, Sammy Stryker.
Yeah, I knew it was Stryker, obviously, because he's Stryker's son, but basically Lex has still got a little bit of ginger hair here, and
just like wisps. He's trying to come over and it's not working for him.
But it turns out the reason why Superboy Connor Kent sort of connected to his powers a little bit is because Connor's telekinetic powers are literally a diluted version of the Chain's powers. There is a
tactile telekinesis,
and Lex was involved in the creation of both of them. Not of him as a person, but in giving him powers he was involved in. So makes sense. So that all ties together. Graft and Farm show the Chained what Lex has been up to over the past couple decades.
And he doesn't take that news very well. He's just like, we gotta tear the cord down, even though there's a big Superman logo on there now.
Oh, he's not happy. He sees the President Lex. He's not feeling good about it. So Superman goes to Lex to demand some answers. Lex is a little bit snippy about not being saved from being stabbed, but he's like, you know what? The old Lex would have plotted revenge from this second on, but I'm the new Lex, so I'm not going to do that. I'm still not sure I believe you, Lex, but...
100% I do, because the fact that if he was really new Lex, he would have been like, oh, I understand. There's 14 other things you were dealing with at the time. This Lex was like, you didn't save me? All right, well, I'll remember this. It's just, I gotta give Williamson credit here on making Lex the pettiest version, and I'm always down for petty Lex.
Yeah, I am definitely enjoying this Chain storyline more, just because it feels like it's getting enough time to actually tell its story.
It's a lot more focused.
Yeah. So the Chain shows up at the hospital and grabs Lena Luthor and is like, hey, you have your dad's eyes. I'm going to kill you to upset him. Obviously, Superman and Connor sort of fly off in his chains to pull him away, which saves the kid. She still doesn't like her dad very much, and Lex looks miffed about this for a panel before he's ready to go back into work. So we get another big fight with the Chained, and Lex has got Mercy or whoever also working on a solution. It all bubbles out down to Clark getting a suit, because it turns out the one weakness that he programmed into the powers of the Chained was this radioactive meteor rock that he found in Smallville. So would you believe it? His weakness is kryptonite.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit weird, though. I'm just gonna be like a part of me doesn't even care where Williamson goes with this. It's very Smallville, right? That the meteorite is, the cause for and the solution to all of the answers on that show, of all the problems. Rather.
Oh yeah, every freak of the week had some kryptonite in their cereal, and that's why they had powers. That was the plot of every episode almost.
So here's that, but it does give us a very cool visual of Clark showing up in the suit. Which, if Williamson's trying to sell action figures, put me down for one of these.
Yeah, it's like a Superman astronaut suit with like bright green kryptonite gloves,
like gauntlets.
So this does win, but Superman's helmet gets cracked while he's fighting him, and then eventually there's this it's like a bunch of seatbelt dispensers that all kind of fly towards the Chained and wrap him up like a mummy, and that sort of contains him. But the big ending of the issue is that Clark, with the suit now off, is covered in kryptonite and looks a little bit worse for the wear. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, he's had better days. Yeah, for sure.
So he's getting some armor next issue apparently to make up for his weakness. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, I guess the critique you could maybe have is that so much of this issue once again is fighting that there's not actually that much stuff to talk about as far as like characters go, but it's entertaining enough. The layouts are good, although it is worth mentioning there's multiple artists on this book, so the art does shift around a little bit.
Yeah, almost to a detriment for sure, because it's kind of distracting when it shifts from Melnikoff to Campbell, because there's like, I love both of those artists, but their styles are not compatible to me at all.
Yeah, and there's a third artist who I think stuck out as well. You know, Campbell's pages, like, does he have any before the last two?
I don't know.
That's the only ones I'm going through it quickly just now, and the only two pages I'm recognizing as Campbell is the last two.
Gotcha, because I just remember turning the page and it was Stark, you know, to those.
Yeah, so, and the flashbacks, one artist, and then I think it's Melnikov doing the bulk, and then Campbell does a little bit at the end. I will say too, with Graft and Farm, them talking about how Lex Luthor, you know, it kind of sounds like he pulled one over on them, and I don't think that it's what we think it is. I think that goes more to the Lex's false memories, you know, storyline, that I feel like he set them up to take the fall. Like, I almost feel like he was trying to make himself look like a hero to get in there, if this is what we're going, you know, young superhero Lex. But just a lot of their dialogue when they're explaining to the Chained about what Lex did and what he did to them and how they're motivated by revenge, you know, it definitely doesn't add up. Like, him just simply thwarting them doesn't seem to justify all of their actions. And also, is it them that are talking about the different experiments, like on they're talking about Marilyn Moonlight, and because they're talking about Farm and Graft and their experiments on Marilyn Moonlight, who's the cowgirl. Yeah, they mentioned Marilyn Moonlight.
Which I did not think, you know. Yeah,
we don't hear them say it in that scene. It's later on when he's fighting Superman, where Chained brings it up.
That's right.
He mentions, they told me all about what they did to Metallo and Bizarro and to Marilyn Moonlight. So it gives a connection between her and Lex, which, you know, is new. That is a new bit of like mythology that we're building with her. So
curious to see where that goes. But yeah, and also you're talking about all the seat belts and stuff to get the Chain, where this was the first time, as much as I love Superboy, I never really understood the tactile telekinesis and how it was different than, you know, regular comic book telekinesis, and just the description that it, you know, it's this aura around his body that makes the super stuff accessible to him, right? The flight, the strength, everything. So the fact, like, essentially putting this super straitjacket on the Chained is one of the things that can cordon him. So all of these straps coming around like a straitjacket, I thought was a pretty good solution based off of the information we were given.
Yeah, because, well, they mentioned that as a kid, like, the Chained had to touch something to be able to control it. But then he, like, started pushing further and could do it without touching it. So, which, I mean, to me, that explains tactile telekinesis, because I'm like, okay, so you can make something move around, but you still have to have contact with a part of it. But then obviously he moves beyond that. At which point I would say it's just regular telekinesis. But you know, who am I to?
Right, but to me, he's expanding his aura, right? And that's why when they can strap him tight, you know, that negates him being able to expand it for whatever reason. So.
But that makes some sense. I mean, as much sense as this type of thing.
Right, tactile telekinesis is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, credit to Williamson on that one for being able to, you know, just tell a story here without too many. You know, we've had issues in the past with him doing like too much too fast, and so here, like you brought up, like it's taking its time, and you know, we're being able to focus on the Chain and whatnot.
I think this is an enjoyable enough issue as the ongoing arc. I think the art does jump around a bit too much, and I think sometimes some of the Chain's face especially sometimes looks a little, but you know, I don't want to be too harsh here, but it's veering on a little Romita Jr. at times.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
That's where, when you went that way, I was wondering where you were going.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I think that does drag it in a little bit. It is a lot of fighting, but there's some interesting tidbits, and I do appreciate that they're building up the Chained as this big thing, and in turn, like, we don't know what Lex did to Graft and Farm yet,
Right.
but given what he did to the Chained, which was, give this kid superpowers and then lock him up because he was too dangerous after he killed his dad, it does feel like whatever is to be revealed about Farm and Graft, it feels like, yeah, Lex probably did do something really heinous, if that's the level we're working on here. So, all right, what are you giving Superman issue 8?
I'm giving it a 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll give it a 7. I think the art probably does drop it half a point to a point down to that, but yeah, 7 out of 10.